You are listening to the podcast When Life Gives You Lemons, presented by me, Emma Levy. Having worked with elite athletes for a number of years, it's always intrigued me that a significant number of high-performing individuals have encountered some form of adversity earlier in their lifetime. My fascination into this grew when I had my own brush with adversity, when I was diagnosed with breast cancer in May 2020, in the midst of the global pandemic at the age of only 36. During this period, I questioned whether it was my positive mindset or maybe something deeper, which enabled me to bounce back and to train and compete for a triathlon just 1 month following completion of all active cancer treatment. The goal of this podcast is to explore this concept further by meeting a variety of high-performing individuals who have experienced adversity but who have come back stronger. Today, I'm welcoming Michael Gunning to the podcast. Michael is an international swimmer, having represented Team GB and Jamaica in his career. Michael is not only known for his skills in the water, but he is a passionate advocate for equality, diversity and inclusion in sport. Michael retired from swimming last year, so has been busy trying to change the world, and I'm honoured he's come to London to chat with me today. Michael, thank you for coming to meet me here at the studio. I'm really looking forward to hearing what you've been up to. Firstly, can we start with your swimming career? Like I said in the introduction, you represented both Team GB and Jamaica. We're going to talk about the Jamaica aspect a bit later. But when you look back at your career, your swimming life, do you have a highlight?
Oh, I think I have so many highlights. I think it's so hard to pick one, but I think I just loved being part of a team. I loved being part of something that was so special. And, I was never incredibly good. I never got the ultimate dream that I would have loved to, which is obviously Olympic gold medal, like all athletes go and aim to achieve. But I think just going away and sometimes getting back up when you've been knocked down, sometimes doing a bad swim and getting back up. And for me, it was in 2011. I got hypothermia in my first open water race, and everyone thought that I'd never do open water again, that I'd never kind of get back in the water, but I wanted to prove people wrong, and I ended up kind of coming back to the UK and doing the Great East Swim and winning a gold medal in the elite race. So I think that's a special highlight for me. That will always mean a lot, but I think, so many highlights to say.
Yeah, and you mentioned that ultimate dream of getting the Olympic medal, and we spoke about that at the beginning, and you're not an Olympian and you never made an Olympic Games. Am I right in saying you qualified for the Olympics for Tokyo 2020, but then it was delayed a year and you didn't make qualification?
Yes, it was a little bit heartbreaking.
Yeah.
I qualified in lockdown and thought, I'd almost achieved part of my dream, that I got that opportunity. But then obviously with the pandemic, I think lots of people's worlds were turned upside down and I had to re-qualify. So very tough, but I feel like it's definitely led me on the path that I am today, made me stronger. And I guess I've got this story to tell.
So at the time, how did you deal with that? And how did you kind of bounce back from the disappointment?
Oh, I think really leaning on my friends and family. Obviously lockdown was a very tough time, and I spent many months training really hard on my own in a swimming pool, because obviously lots of pools around the UK was closed, and I had the opportunity to actually go to my local pool. They opened it up for me to continue training, but obviously when I got hit with the news that I wasn't going, I think athletes can handle it two ways. They can either bounce back and learn from it, or let it consume them. And had a little bit of the consuming, was really tough to kind of get back up. But I think, I wanted to just inspire people. Not everyone will go to the Olympics, but that's also okay, and just aim for the next dream.
Yeah. So do you feel like you achieved what you set out to achieve ultimately in your swimming career?
Yeah, I think, I think all athletes have many goals and dreams that they want to do, and not everyone will quite achieve that. I think even the most successful athletes, they won't quite achieve, exactly what they want. They'll always want more. But I'm so proud of my career, and I think now I can share that story.
Yeah, that's brilliant that you're proud of it. And like I said at the introduction, you did represent both Team GB and Jamaica. Can I ask why you moved over to Jamaica?
Yeah, I think Jamaica is so well known for athletics and Usain Bolt and getting so many medals on the track and field. And we've got some great swimmers in Jamaica, like Alia Atkinson, who was absolutely, leading the way in swimming. And I think lots of Jamaica family, Jamaica friends, said, please, can you represent us? But I think I loved representing Great Britain. It was such a special part in my life. I had so many amazing memories. But I think somebody just said, I've got no role models in swimming. I think for so many people out there just felt a little bit isolated, and they wanted people to look up to, like Alia Atkinson. So I thought if I could be that person for someone, I really wanted to, to be that beacon of hope. I wanted to show them that people can swim, people can be good, and just inspire them to get in the water. And actually representing that, the yellow and black kind of Jamaica kit, it was such a great feeling because people could finally see themselves represented in the aquatic community.
Yeah, and that's quite special. But when you moved over to represent Jamaica, had you come out as gay by then? Because what I want to talk about is the fact that it's illegal to be gay in Jamaica. And so I'm really interested, what drove you to compete for a country that potentially on the surface didn't accept you?
Yeah, so when I actually moved over, I was still, not out as an athlete. And I think I knew that I was going to come out, pretty much straight away. But I just wanted to just be myself, and I felt like for a few months it was nice to obviously represent Jamaica and have that buzz around me competing for them. But I knew that it would take a turn. I hoped it wasn't going to be too dark. And, I think there was many positives and negatives. I think when I did come out, lots of people weren't happy. Loads of people said
in Jamaica.
In Jamaica, they said that I should have, continue to represent Team GB. I wasn't welcome in Jamaica, that I'm kind of done them a disservice. But again, so many positives. Obviously the whole of, to be fair, loads of people around the world were messaging me and, their support and obviously my coming out journey and my story. But Jamaicans specifically living in Jamaica saying that, it's the best news that they could have had because finally they're represented, and that's such a nice feeling.
Is there anyone else in Team Jamaica that has come out as gay subsequent to that?
Nobody yet, no. I think, it's still so hard with the different laws in place, and I think that's what I'm so passionate about, just trying to change that, trying to put LGBTQ plus people on the map, and especially in sport, pave that way for them. But I think, already I've, crossed a little bit of a boundary by being the first out Jamaican athlete on the national team. So hopefully, soon people will follow if they feel like they can. Yeah.
So can we talk a little bit about your sexuality? You came out as gay in 2018 when you were 24. Is that right?
Yes.
That's quite old, I think.
Yeah. No, definitely.
Do you think you always knew you were gay?
Yeah, I think kind of going through my teenage years, I knew that I was very different. I was very flamboyant and just different to everyone around. But I feel like for me, it was almost something I'd suppressed for so long. Being in sport, I was always told that I should be a certain way. It was all about image. It was all about showing people, how you were going to perform, even if sometimes deep down you didn't think you was going to swim too well, or you had like these different doubts. So I think, for a very early age, I had it ingrained in me that I had to be a certain way, to be an elite athlete. And I think it was hard to, really feel like I could be myself in sport. Did feel a little bit lonely at times, but, I think it was when I missed the Commonwealth Games team in 2018, I had the summer off and I thought, there's so many things going well in my life, but there's that one thing that has that shadow on, and that is my sexuality. And I thought, why can't I be myself? Why can't I open up and kind of unlock that chapter in my life? And I definitely have no regrets.
That's amazing. And you came out quite publicly, didn't you, on a TV reality show?
Oh my gosh, it feels like a lifetime ago now, but yeah, I came out on E! Entertainment, and I think it was just so nice to just be in a villa with like-minded people and have these open conversations. I think even me being part of the LGBT community, I think there's so much I need to learn still, and I'm learning every day, which I think is amazing. But especially that summer, I learned a lot about myself. I learned a lot about just the LGBTQ plus community, and I think it inspired me to kind of be that beacon of hope for someone.
Yeah. And had you told your family and friends before going on the programme, or was it a big shock to everyone that knew you?
Yeah, I told my family, told some friends. I think lots of people knew my sexuality anyway, and I think I'd never been on a date before, so for me it was kind of my very first dating experience. So it was nice to kind of do that and unlock that and have a little bit of fun with it. I think even now, not really been on many dates, so I'm looking forward to just every day learning more about myself and getting myself out there, really.
It's exciting.
No, definitely.
And when you did come out quite publicly as an athlete, did you experience any homophobia?
Yeah, I think social media can be a hard place at times. I'm looking at my kind of requests on Instagram. There's so many hate messages. There's so many people sending death threats and just, nasty comments. But I feel like, you can leave them in the request. You don't have to accept them. And, I'm one of those people that do like to almost read them and have a look through just to see what is being said, because there's also a lot of positive stories. People that have come out to their family but still actually can't be out in their own home because their parents don't accept them, and the fact that I get to message them back and give them that little bit of words of encouragement or hope, I think I feel like that's something I never really had. I think I should have reached out to people and almost come out to people when I was younger, but I never had that strength. So I think these people are so strong that they can open up to a total stranger. And I think I really like to just focus on the positives and just try and move away from the negative.
Yeah, which is fantastic. And despite all those negative consequences, you've done some amazing things, and I'm going to list some of the cool things you've done. You were on the cover of Attitude magazine, looking very handsome.
Oh, I love that shoot.
Did you?
Honestly, yeah. I think at my lowest time, when I kind of was really questioning, was I good enough? Have I kind of turned in my career, and will I be seen as a failure? I think Attitude gave me that light, gave me that kind of stand to just be proud of who I was.
Boost, I suppose, that you needed. It's amazing. And then you won an Attitude Pride Award in 2019.
Yes.
I mean, another unbelievable thing. And then, am I right in saying you worked at Pride House at the Commonwealth Games in Birmingham just last year?
Yes.
And 25 of the 56 nations that make up the Commonwealth, it's illegal to be gay. Yeah. So to have that Pride House in the athlete village for what I think is the first time, wasn't it, in Birmingham?
Yeah.
How did that feel to be part of that?
Oh, amazing. And I think the more people we interact with, the more people we talk to, I think we know the impact we're having. So Jamaican athletes were going into Pride House in the athletes villages and talking, having those, communications. But I think, the biggest thing for me, especially in sport, is allies, having people that will stand up and, have your back, talk about it, ask questions. I think some swimmers kind of ask me the most craziest of questions that I think, how have you even come to me with that question? But actually, it's their way of learning. Yeah. And I think sometimes it's about embracing that, and the fact that we could bring that to an athletes village at a major games where people can talk about parents, they can talk about people that they might have in their life that might not accept them, I think is such a powerful thing.
Yeah, it's so important. Is there going to be a Pride House at the Paris Olympic Games, do you know?
I hope so. Yes, I'm pretty sure there will be, which is exciting.
Amazing. Are you going to be involved? Would you like to be involved?
Yeah, I'd definitely love to be involved. I think I'll definitely be going into the Pride House. But, obviously being on the other side of sport now, I think it's going to be great to just watch it all and absorb it all rather than actually kind of being on a bus and being carted here, there to race and being in that racing mode. So I'm looking forward to actually enjoying the sport, watching other sports as well, and hopefully being part of it in some way. Yeah,
it's very different when you're in the sport, isn't it? Because I don't know if you know, I'm a physiotherapist and I work with Team GB, and everyone always thinks you get to see all this sport, but actually I tell people when I travel, I see a hotel, I see a swimming pool, and I see a physio room. Yeah,
that's what it's like, right?
That's it. You don't see other sports really, and you hardly see your own sports.
I know.
So I'm sure you're going to love watching the Paris Games. There's not long to go.
Yeah, it's coming around quickly, isn't it?
I know. You were also involved with Tom Daley's BBC documentary, Illegal to Be Me. And I really want to ask you about that because you went back to Jamaica to film. And like we said, it's basically illegal to be gay in Jamaica. So how was that?
Oh my, yeah. I think I really wanted to go back to Jamaica and, just almost be part of the change, speak to government, actually be present out there and see what's going on. Very fortunate that I live in the UK, so it's safe to be me every day. But obviously going back to Jamaica, it is illegal to be me. So when Tom came up to me and said, do I want to be a part of it? Should we go back to Jamaica together? I think if it wasn't for Tom, I probably wouldn't have gone out there,
Really?
So I feel like
you were scared to travel out there.
Yeah, I think, people see me as an activist. So, I think many people, if they did see me, wouldn't be too happy. So actually going out there, we did dress in disguise. We did just, we had security with us the whole time. And it wasn't, the nicest experience kind of coming into your, a nation that I represent, that I'm proud to represent, and have that experience. But I think, because we was going out there to do what we was doing, I think it was important just to make sure that we were safe. And we had some amazing conversations, lots of athletes that we wanted to interview, but I think some backed out at the last minute because they felt a little bit worried. I think that's okay, and I think the fact that we could document that true hard story, and I opened up more than I've ever opened up in my life. I've been friends with Tom from kind of younger and obviously kind of in through sport, but actually going out there, I spoke to Tom about things that I've not spoken to with anyone before, so it was really nice to document that and get that visibility that we need.
You said you spoke and you opened up a lot more than you have done previously. And I actually saw a clip where you said that deep down you aren't 100% happy with who you are. And if you had the choice, you would be straight. Do you still feel like that?
Oh, I think it's a journey. I'm definitely a lot more happier in myself. I'm proud to be Michael. I think in sport especially, I felt so much pressure and so much kind of anxiety to perform. Every time I dived in the water, I didn't want to let anyone down, and I felt like a lot of that doubt came from my sexuality. So I think looking back, I would have loved to have seen how I would have done if I was straight, if I wasn't different to everyone else. But I think now I'm actually owning my differences. I'm proud of my differences, and seeing the people that I've influenced and inspired, I think really shows me that I have no regrets. I'm so proud of the career that I've had. So every day I'm learning to love myself a little bit more.
Good, and you should be proud of yourself. Do you think that these 25 countries out of the 56 countries of the Commonwealth where it is illegal to be gay, do you think these countries should be allowed to participate at these major sporting events?
Oh, what a question. I feel like it's almost unfair for the people who are LGBTQ plus in these countries, having to come to competitions, to meets, and not be able to be themselves. So many people fear being themselves, and I'd love to almost give them an opportunity to go to a competition and feel safe, have pride houses. So I think such a hard question, but I think I would just love countries and nations to just come together for sport.
And I think from my point of view, what you're doing is kind of the positive way of campaigning against their discriminatory attitudes and laws, really, isn't it? Because I think you're right, it's not fair to punish the people from those countries, and what you've got to do is get to the governments, like what you're trying to do.
I think higher up, it's all about government, what's being said. And obviously Uganda last year, like we saw the hard conversations coming out of what they think of LGBT people, and it's scary, it's not nice, and it's how do we change those mindsets. I think there's so many different ways around it, and people like to almost really cast that negative. And even with the documentary we done, I spoke about some hard sad things, but I think from there I really want to shine that positive light, show those positive stories of people embracing their sexuality, of the journeys that people have been on. And Tom and I are Kaleidoscope Trust patrons, so we do lots of work with them just to help change the laws, connect with people that we wouldn't normally connect with, and just show them another side of life, of our thoughts and feelings. So hopefully day by day we're going to be changing that, but it's a long journey.
Definitely, but things are getting better, I think, aren't they? So when you went back to Jamaica, were you actually scared for your safety?
We weren't actually allowed to leave our hotel without a security guard, a bodyguard. And I think when you're told that, it kind of really amplifies the situation you're in. The fact that I was out in Jamaica, and there was friends that wanted to kind of connect with me, but I couldn't go out without security. I think it really hit home of how important this topic and this conversation we were having was. Did
you still feel proud to be Jamaican when you were out there?
I feel like when I'm at these competitions, when I'm in the athletes' village, everyone sees that yellow and black kit, and they feel connected to me. They feel like it's almost like a family, being in those villages, and, especially at the World Championships, being in like the aquatic village. We had a whole village just for diving, water polo and swimming. I think, you feel like a massive family, and it's so lovely. And, you should feel like when you're representing that with your team. I've been to the athletics competitions in my Jamaica kit, and I'm worshipped, it's such a nice feeling. But also, going back at that time, I felt like, I wasn't necessarily super proud to be Jamaican, and I really wanted to change that, because no one should ever feel that doubt or that feeling ashamed like I did.
Yeah, and you really do use your platform to challenge the lack of visibility of LGBTQ plus people in elite sport, and I think elite sport, tell me if you agree, I think elite sport is still a problem, and there's only one professional footballer who's come out as openly gay. How can we change that?
Yeah, I feel like, in sport, it relies a lot on the fans. It relies on a lot of external. I think elite sport is a bubble inside, but the minute you step out and we need audience and spectators, I think it does put sport on the line, really, and it just finds what sport is like. I know that we've got rainbow laces, which obviously people can wear rainbow laces to show their support, and there's so many different campaigns now that hopefully is turning those ways, making a change. But yeah, the real answer is, who knows? I think unless the fans, the spectators, the people watching support all athletes, no matter their race, sexuality, size, image, I think, it's still going to take a bit of time.
Yeah, because Premiership footballers, they're such role models, aren't they? And I do really feel like we just need one big Premiership footballer to make that step. And then I think people will follow. But they're obviously scared, and I find that so sad.
Yeah, it's so sad. And I actually went to the men's World Cup final a couple of years ago now, and I remember being in the stadium, and obviously we lost, we 2-1, and I feel like that score, actually hearing people, the abuse they were shouting at the athletes, I've not really experienced anything like that before. It's not a nice experience. So I can imagine, and I think I totally understand athletes, if I was on that pitch being hollered that, abuse because I'd lost, and I feel like it does change the game a bit. So, I understand what they're going through, and I just hope that one day they can feel like they can, and have the support to be themselves.
Yeah. Well, hopefully, what you're doing is going to help that as well. Did you always have an ambition to go down this kind of campaigning route, or did you kind of just find yourself swept along with it?
Oh my, yeah. I think I've just been swept along with it, to be honest. I just, when I came out, I just wanted to be myself. I wanted to be Michael. And I think from that, having, Attitude sharing my story and having loads of different outlets share my story, I never wanted to be seen as, the gay black swimmer. I just wanted to be known as Michael. And the fact that that's kind of stuck, that people, they do recognise me. And I think it's great that I can, be that person for some people, because we all need role models. We all need to look up to someone. So
do you think you were known as the gay black swimmer?
Yeah. I think, especially around the world, I think media obviously has such big influence, and it's nice when I'm kind of in a media outlet and I'm just known for Michael. I think it's so nice, because it shows how far we've come on. But for many years, especially when I came out, first of all, I think people just saw me as that, and not really saw the Michael underneath. So I think never really went down that route, but I feel like I've almost got to kind of take that name of that gay black swimmer and show people that actually the more people that are openly gay, the more people of colour swimming, we can just be ourselves, and then we'll be seen as an athlete like everyone else. Yeah,
and we don't see a lot of people of colour swimming. Why is that?
I think that's stereotypes. I think I've kind of do lots of work with young children and schools, and I'm currently working on Speedo's Swim United campaign. And we touch so many young people's lives and see, give them that skill of swimming, give them that opportunity to get into the water. But I think a lot of parents, they say, why would we put our children into a sport that they wouldn't succeed at? Wow. And, that's what their parents are telling them. And, it's almost takes somebody like me or, role models around to go in and show, actually, you can do it. It is, it's definitely achievable. Yeah,
I mean, that needs to change, doesn't it? There's a high percentage of black people that can't swim, is that right?
Yeah, 95% of black adults and 80% of black children can't swim in the UK.
80% of children as well.
So high.
And then you've got the drowning risk.
I know, yeah. I think, especially when the weather's nice, especially, in London in the summer, when it's really nice out, I think people do want to go and cool down, and, people thinking that they can swim, but getting into a sea or a lake and then actually realising that they can't tread water. They can only swim when they can put their feet on the floor. And I think that is scary. Swimming is a life skill and everyone deserves to have that skill.
Yeah. How did you get into swimming?
Ooh.
Your parents didn't have the same stereotypical opinions?
Yeah, so my parents couldn't swim and really encouraged me and my younger brother to learn. So we just went into a swimming pool with a teacher, and I hated it at first. I was kicking and screaming. I really didn't want to get in. It was too cold. But I think, when the teacher started to say, you'd never be able to get that sinker on the floor or swim to the other side, I was like, well, let me show you, and I think actually that's where it came from. I wanted to prove people wrong. And just went from there. I kind of went through to, teaching and learning to swim into a swimming club, which was Beckenham Swimming Club. I was there for many years, kind of went up into the top squad and just loved it, and yeah, even though I was one of, the only mixed race swimmers, in the country, I think, there's only not really many people at all. It was nice to have people in my swimming club that I could look at and go, actually, you are like me, I can do it, and almost have that confidence.
Yeah. So did you feel different as a black kid swimming? Were you aware of the fact you were the only one of colour in the pool?
Yeah, I think so. I actually do sink in water, which is a little bit like, oh, but I think, even, tall people, I think, they say that, with jumping and running, I can't run. I'm not a very good sprinter. So actually I kind of, even though there's some stereotypes that I do match with, I think actually it's just hard work. I've learned to float. I've learned to be good in the water and to have that skill. So I think, with hard work, anything is possible, and you can achieve anything.
Yeah. And as a kid, do you remember having a drive to want to be a professional swimmer? Do you remember thinking, I want to be at that Olympics one day, or not?
No, I never had that actually. I think for me it was always short-term goals. It was always, nationals at the end of the year, or it was always, let's try and get a personal best time. Let's see if I can get faster. I looked up to Michael Phelps. I looked up to Rebecca Adlington, but yeah, never really had that ambition to be a successful international swimmer. It just kind of happened really. And I remember, qualifying for my first team with Great Britain, and I had no idea what it meant, having the red, white and blue kind of team kit. It was an amazing feeling, but I was going into the unknown a little bit. So I think it was quite nice to actually, be surprised in that way and not put too much pressure on myself.
And did you enjoy the process of swimming when you were a swimmer?
Yeah, I think, it's a lot of hard work. It really is, morning and night, I think before school, after school, but we've just done it, and I think it has definitely made me the person I am today. I'm disciplined, I am so ambitious, and it's just helped me with life after swimming, because it's a very tough transition.
Yeah.
But yeah, I've just, I'm definitely resilient because of swimming.
Yeah, I was going to ask you about resilience, because I do ask my guests about their resilience. Do you think you're a resilient person?
100%. Yeah, I think I will always get back up when I get knocked down, and I think sometimes we can get knocked down hard and it can be very tough, kind of to get back up again. But I feel like swimming made me so strong, so disciplined. I actually had a speech and language stutter when I was younger, so I had to go to therapy to kind of get rid of that stutter, have the confidence. I went to drama school as well, just to try and get my confidence out of me. I think I always was doubting myself, and my parents just wanted to give me the best start in life. And when I did start to doubt myself, they would send me to drama school. When, I had a stutter, my parents would take me to speech and language therapy to try and get rid of it. And, now I do corporate talks. I'm out there and just sharing my story. And, I really wouldn't be where I am today without them.
Yeah. And the skills that you learnt swimming, because they do a lot of resilience training, don't they?
Yeah.
Like I often use the Michael Phelps example when I talk about resilience, how his, it's a famous story, how his coach kind of like hid his goggles for a big race or something. Yeah. So then when he went to swim and he didn't have his goggles, the coach was like, well, if you can win a race without your goggles, you're prepared for the next race.
Yeah, I think it's all about the unknown. Coming into a session and thinking that you've got a nice recovery, easy session and you're relaxed, and then the coach says you've actually got 10 individual medley, and you think, oh my goodness, but that's what it's like, and we do it. And to be honest, now that I'm on the other side, I don't really know how I done it. It just happened, pushing your body beyond, through so much pain, just beyond any means that you think's possible. I think, it's amazing to be an athlete, and to any athletes out there, enjoy it, because it is so, so special.
Do you miss it?
100%.
Really?
Yeah.
That's
I miss being part of a team. I miss being the fittest I've ever been. You know, I think pushing for a really hard session and, you know, getting that feeling inside of just being superhuman, it's amazing. I've definitely not had that feeling since, so hopefully I'll find it again in something.
I'm sure you can find something. Choose a new sport. I've never actually been skiing. I think it's always been a fear, obviously, getting injured, being in like elite sport, so still a little bit worried. You know, I don't know how I'll be on the slopes, but I'm looking forward to just trying new challenges, trying something different. You said you can't run. Maybe now is your time to sign up for the London Marathon.
Oh gosh, wow. We'll see.
Be the fittest you've ever been. And so we've talked a little bit about your resilience. I wanted to ask you as well. I read that you were at the Manchester bombing terrorist attack at the Ariana Grande concert.
Yes.
And that was quite a pivotal moment in your life. Can you tell us a little bit more about that?
Yeah, I think, you know, I love Ariana Grande, and, you know, that concert even now feels like a little bit of a blur, you know. I see myself as a really loving, kind person, but, you know, in that moment when the explosions went off, I just ran like everyone else. You know, we didn't look back, and there was people that couldn't find their parents, or, you know, who were trying to get some stuff when they probably shouldn't have done. And, you know, rather than me stopping and helping and taking a moment just to look around to make sure everyone was okay, you know, I just ran with everyone. And I think that took a long time to get over that regret. And, you know, I think that was almost the point where I decided that, you know, even though, you know, coming out is such a daunting thing, if I can help somebody, why wouldn't I do that? Mm-hmm. You know, if I can talk about Black people, you know, or mixed race people swimming and, you know, getting rid of that stereotype, you know, I want to be that person to help change that, because, you know, in that moment I didn't help, and it's awful, you know, having that regret. So I just never want to have those types of regrets again. So any possible point I can do, I just try and help. So
that was quite a traumatic time for you back then.
Yeah, it was a couple of months before the World Championships. I think kind of coming back in, I thought I could forget about it. I thought I could get my head down, keep training and work towards my goal. But I think, you know, the reality is that you can't get over something like that by, you know, suppressing it, by pushing it down inside. So I think, you know, there was many sessions that I had to get out of the water where my head wasn't in it. And I think just being really open with my coach and the people around me, because I think unless you go through something like that, you don't really know how individuals will be. Everyone handles it differently. And for me, I had to really just take a little bit of time to process. I saw a psychologist as well, which really helped and opened up in, you know, different elements of my life. And I think that really almost allowed me to embrace who I was. Yeah. And are you able now to forgive yourself rather than still have regrets about that? Yeah, I think now, especially with the work that I'm doing, I feel like it's a good outlet to know that, you know, I made a mistake. You know, I never want to have that regret again, but look at what I'm doing now. And I think, you know, that's what I will continue to do for the rest of my life. And even if that opportunity comes up again where I regret something or I make a mistake, you know, I think almost cutting the slack and going, it's okay. We're all human, aren't we? Yeah, definitely. We do make mistakes, but it's how you come back from that, isn't it? It's how you come back from failure. Yeah, definitely. So you talked about seeing a psychologist. Are there any other specific strategies you have used throughout your career as a swimmer and afterwards which you think have helped drive you forward? So I really don't like the unknown. I get really scared of the unknown. So for me, I used to visualize my race. And, you know, even now kind of going into a really big meeting, you know, obviously you have your notes and you can prepare as much as you possibly can, but actually sometimes closing your eyes and taking a little bit of a moment to visualize what could happen, you know, how you're going to sit, how you're going to stand, what you're going to say. I think, you know, that's something that I've kind of transferred from swimming over into corporate life or life after swimming. I think one thing I used to do in kind of competitions is lie on the floor and kind of do a breathing technique just to help relax my muscles, you know, to kind of get rid of all of the stress and anxiety. And, you know, every time I sat back up again, I knew what I had to do. You know, I'd trained all my life for that moment, and I didn't want to let any nerves or anxiety or pressure kind of get the better of me. So I still do those different techniques now, and
that's brilliant.
Really helps.
Yeah, I think visualization is such an underrated skill that non-athletes could learn so much from athletes about.
Yeah.
Because so many athletes I speak to use it, and to such positive gains as well. And I think there's probably people out there that, you know, don't know anything about it, or if they do, maybe think it's a bit of nonsense.
Yeah, I think before I go into a race, I've swum it so many times in my head already, and I think that helped me, you know that it wasn't the first time I was doing it. So yeah, I think you can kind of play that or do that in so many kind of forms of life, because it will really help.
Yeah, thanks for that. And final question, Michael, if you could go back in time to when things were at their most difficult, what do you wish you could have told yourself?
Or use the people around you. Yeah, I think sometimes in life you think it's all down to you. You know, you're the only person that is strong enough to help hold you up, and, you know, you've got to do it by yourself. But I think the reality is you really don't. Really use your coaches, your friends, your teammates, you know, your family, because my family was so supportive, my friends were so supportive. But, you know, I think in the darkest times you forget about that support and you think that you're on your own. So yeah, I think open up, tell people how you're really feeling, be honest, because if you're honest with people, you know, you'll have that support.
Yeah, it's finding the strength around you and your community. It's so important. Where can people find you, Michael, if they want to know more?
Oh, they can find me on Instagram at michaelgunning1, and I'm on Twitter and Facebook, all the same. So yeah, definitely reach out.
Amazing. Thank you, Michael, so much for coming to talk to us today. In my research for this, I read a few articles written about you, and they all said what a joyful, positive, smiley person you are. And I see today meeting you that they are 100% correct.
Oh, no, thank you. Thank you for having me on. It's a lovely podcast, and just continue shining the light. That's what we're doing, you know, sharing our stories, sharing other people's stories.
And we're inspiring people.
Yeah.
You know, people like you, really like role models. I just want people to listen and to be inspired. I love what you're doing in your campaigning and your drive towards greater inclusion and diversity in sports and in the wider world. So thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you for listening to that chat with Michael Gunning today. If you enjoyed it, please do remember to subscribe to the podcast, rate it, review it, and follow us on social media. Thank you.